Mahboubi joins us now. He's a research scholar at the Center for the Study of Contemporary China at the University of Pennsylvania. Just watching Nathan's piece, a lot has happened in these first 100 days. What changes have we seen so far with Biden's administration in comparison to the Trump approach to things, would you say?
Well, I think the two biggest changes we've seen, first, the rhetoric has definitely toned down. I think that's a very clear change. We're no longer seeing discussion from the highest levels of the U.S. government about promoting regime change in China or trying to separate the Chinese people from their government. And secondly, I think you're seeing much more coordination between the different aspects of the U.S. government and a lot more consistency with the messaging from the president himself and from his various cabinet officials and the entire apparatus of government is a much more consistent approach than I think we were finding with the previous administration. So to my mind, those are the two biggest changes so far.
And Neysun, with Obama, we always heard compete where we must, cooperate where we can. With Trump, it was just much more of an adversarial approach. And as you said, in many respects, dysfunctional. We're getting messages from all over the place. Is Biden trying to split the difference or tilting more towards the Obama model, would you say?
Well, certainly Secretary Blinken has already said that we're going to be, from the U.S. standpoint, looking for both areas of cooperation, but also being mindful of areas of competition and even confrontation. So I think that mix of different areas of both confrontation and competition and perhaps cooperation will continue to be the goal of the Biden administration. Of course, the specifics of that will be a little bit harder to figure out. And I think, frankly, that they are trying to figure out right now what that's going to look like. I think it's a little bit early, even though it's been 100 days. It's been a little bit early for them to demonstrate that they have very specific ideas for how to balance those three different types of approaches.
And he certainly had his hands full with the domestic situation with the pandemic and the mass shootings and of course, racial tensions here in the U.S. But what about trade and tariffs? Are we likely to see a change there? And if so, when do you think that might happen?
Well, certainly the tariffs issue is one that is often referenced as showing a continuity with Trump administration policies. We don't have any indications yet that the tariffs are coming down. The new U.S. Trade Representative, Katherine Tai, has indicated that she's open to negotiating with Chinese counterparts, but as far as I know, there has not yet been a movement along those lines. The Phase 1 trade agreement, of course, does continue to chug along, and I believe that exports to China are higher than they used to be before the Phase 1 trade agreement. So, you know, that legacy before the past year and a half of extremely confrontational rhetoric between the two countries is still in place. But going back to the first point, I don't think that we see yet any indications that the main drivers of the trade war are coming down anytime soon.
And what impact has the pandemic had on this vitally important bilateral relationship, would you say?
I think it's been a huge impact. I think, you know, we all remember that there was, increasing tension between the U.S. and China before the pandemic, but the pandemic really accelerated all of those dynamics. And of course, you know, there's that ongoing debate about the origins of the virus, which still kind of pops up from time to time. But on the whole, I do think that with the change in administration, and certainly as this U.S. administration has gotten a handle on the pandemic here in the U.S., that has contributed to a dialing down of some of the most inflammatory rhetoric between the two countries.
Neysun, always a pleasure talking to you. Thanks so much for your analysis.
Thank you.